Welcome to When Life Gives You Scraps. In today's video, I am going to go over the basic supplies that you will need to start on this quilting journey. With all the tools and gadgets out there, it's easy to get overwhelmed, so today I'm going to make it easy. Unless you are going to hand piece your quilts, you are going to need a sewing machine. This can be a very stressful purchase, but it doesn't have to be. You want a machine that is going to sew a nice straight seam. Janome has a great little machine called a Gem Gold that is about $275. I know many people who have them and love them. A lot of times you can buy a used machine from a sewing machine shop that runs great. Often the machines you get at the big box stores are not good quality and can actually make your sewing very frustrating. So whatever machine you buy, make sure you familiarize yourself with how it works and how to maintain it. You should have a manual, but if you don't, you can probably find and download the manual straight from the internet. After you get your machine, you're ready for the fun stuff. Fabric. With all the fabric styles out there, you will definitely find something that you love. You are going to want to buy 100% cotton fabric. Fabric is usually sold by the bolt and measures 42 to 44 inches wide and is sold by the yard. Your pattern will tell you exactly how much fabric you need. You may see the term fat quarter or fat eighth. A fat quarter is still a quarter of a yard, but it is cut differently. A typical quarter yard measures 9 inches by 44 inches. A fat quarter measures 18 inches by 22 inches. Likewise, a fat eighth measures 9 inches by 22 inches instead of the typical 4.5 inches by 44 inches. If choosing fabric is not your thing, you are in luck. Most designers design a line of fabric. A line has 20 to 40 different fabrics that all coordinate. Many popular lines today come in what we call pre-cuts. Pre-cuts are just that. They are pieces of fabric that are pre-cut into different sizes. The most common being fat quarter packs, 10-inch squares, 5-inch squares, 2.5-inch squares, and 2.5-inch strips. Each of these has at least one piece of each of the different pieces in the fabric line. The third thing that you will need is 100% cotton thread. You don't need to match your threads to your fabric. In fact, I only use cream or black depending on what I'm sewing. The next thing you're going to need is a rotary cutter and a self-healing mat. There are so many different rotary cutters out there to choose from. You'll need a 45mm rotary cutter. I don't recommend the Fiskars brand for long term. I do like the Olfa, and Missouri Quilt Company has a nice one also. Whichever one you choose, just please be sure to train yourself to always shut the blade. As for the mats, for years all I had was an 18-inch by 24-inch mat. It's a great size and it should last you a long time if you take care of it. Please don't leave your mat in your car or the sun will warp it. Let's talk about rulers. There are a ton of different rulers. You do not need a ton of different rulers, I promise you. I recommend a 6-inch by 12-inch ruler and a 6.5-inch ruler to start with. Two of my favorites are the OmniGrid with the yellow grids and the Creative Grid rulers. As you continue quilting, you will want to get different size square rulers to trim up your blocks, but those can wait. Item number 7. You're going to want a nice pair of scissors. These scissors should only be used for fabric. I would also recommend a small pair of scissors like storks for trimming your threads. You're going to need an iron. I love to use a small travel iron. Walmart has one that I've used for many years. You just want one that gets hot and doesn't necessarily need steam. In fact, I don't recommend using steam. Eventually your iron builds up and it starts to spit and leave marks on your fabric. I find it better to just use a mister with my iron. You will also need an ironing mat or an ironing pad. I like to use a small ironing pad that sits next to my workstation. We are almost done. You will want a seam ripper, pins, and a way to mark your 1/4-inch seam. The best way to do that is to buy a 1/4-inch foot that is made specifically for your machine. However, if you don't have one, no worries. All you need is your ruler and a piece of tape. Place your ruler so that your needle is on the 1/4-inch mark. Make sure the ruler is straight and place your tape along the right side of it. This is very important. In fact, the 1/4-inch seam is going to make or break your quilt. It's so important that my next video is devoted to it. I hope this helped you. Happy quilting, and I'll see you again soon.